the official podcast of KRA Corporation. And now get ready to hear workforce topics and trends you need to know on the go.
Welcome to Voices from the 2026 NAWB Forum, brought to you by KRA Corporation. Recorded live in Las Vegas, this is a series that captures real conversations with workforce leaders from across the country, all centered around this year's theme: Ignite, Innovate, and Impact. These are voices directly from the industry, sharing what's working, what's challenging, and where we're going from here. Now let's get into today's episode. This is Jonathan Overall here at the 2026 NAWB Forum. We're live in Knobtown at the KRA Podcast Zone, and I'm joined by Bharani Rajakumar, the founder of Transfr Inc. You may know them as Transfr VR. Welcome, Bharani, to the Hub.
Thank you so much for having me.
So talk to our audience about what Transfr does and how you're supporting workforce development in the training space.
So what Transfr does is we try to create user-friendly career pathways. Right now there are job opportunities available in the marketplace, but people don't always know how to find them. So we focus specifically on career pathways that do not require a four-year degree. A lot of them are in the skilled trades, advanced manufacturing, entry-level healthcare and infrastructure type roles, but they pay $50,000 to $100,000 a year. They don't require any student loan debt, and when you're with a strong employer, you also get things like healthcare benefits, 401k, and some of them will pay for your higher education. We use virtual reality as a platform to put the learner inside the job site or on the job site before they ever apply for it. So when you're doing a training simulation, it's like bringing a work-based learning experience in front of your eyes. But outside of that, there's also career exploration. So you can put on a headset and see a variety of occupations across 14 different career clusters, everything from, advanced manufacturing to foundational skills for healthcare. And ultimately, what we are looking to help people do is kind of opt into that career pathway that, excites them and they feel like they can be successful at. That's the feedback loop that we want to kind of create between the individual future job candidate and the employer who is looking for great team members.
Is there a learning curve to just using the virtual headset? Do you see those that are going through training? Is there an adoption period to get familiar with using the virtual headset?
It's really interesting. You often hear that everyone's number one fear is fear of public speaking. I wonder if their number two fear is putting on a virtual reality headset. And the reason it's interesting is because there are not a lot of buttons on it. There's like the on and off switch and like the volume control. So it's pretty manageable. But I think it's just such a foreign concept. It's not like a laptop or a mobile phone that people are so used to. So there is some time to train people to get used to the hardware. But at the end of the day, once they kind of have the experience of doing a work-based learning opportunity or career exploration and seeing what it does for kids and adults and how empowering them to acquire skills that will enable them to provide for themselves and their families, then people really see the device and the content on the device as a very powerful tool. And so certainly there is some training required to get over the friction, but once people see the differentiated learning experience and how it's just completely unique from reading a PowerPoint or watching a YouTube video, we can help them get over that fear.
Drew Bursich, the CEO of NAWB, recently was on the podcast and said this about technology and AI, that the rate of change has never been this fast in history. It will also never be this slow again. In the training space, as a company like yours, how are you keeping up with the demands of what's current?
There is no question that AI is the 8 million pound gorilla in the room, and every workforce leader in this country and the world is asking themselves the same question. How do we prepare people and train people for the economy when jobs are being eliminated, they're being replaced, they're being redesigned. And so our answer is we focus on the employer first by understanding what the requirements are for someone to be successful in the workplace, and then creating programs around helping people learn that and prepare themselves to be successful. So I think a structured way to think about it would be there is some base level skills that you need for all industries, right? Some people call them soft skills or executive functioning, like can you articulate what you're thinking? Can you stay calm in a tense environment? Then after that, you might layer on a separate foundation of skills that might be industry specific. For example, if you're going into construction, safety skills are really important, right? And then after that, you might layer on another set of skills that are company specific. Companies will always say there's like the insert company here way of doing things. And so where we focus is mostly on layer one and layer two. What are the foundational skills that make you job ready? And within that, I would say there are some well-defined certifications and credentials that you can earn. For example, safety, OSHA 10 and OSHA 30 are like pretty important kind of credentials that you can take anywhere. And what we want to focus on when we say creating user-friendly career pathways is pathways that are transparent, not that you finish a program and you're like, oh, what's next? But no, pathways that can lead to an employment opportunity at Penske, for example. And I think the more user-friendly and transparent we can create them, I think the more participation you will see with people in the labor market.
When you look at success, say go forward into the future, looking back on time, what kind of mark do you want to leave on the industry?
At Transfer, I think we want to leave behind a system where people feel like they understand what their future options are. I think the challenge with education in the labor market right now is people could spend a lot of time and a lot of money learning things, finish the degree, the certification, the program, and then they're kind of like, well, what next, right? Because nobody's returning my phone calls, nobody's giving me a chance. And that is a broken system. And a broken system helps nobody. Doesn't help the workers, doesn't help the employers, doesn't help, legislators, doesn't help our communities become safer. Everyone's interests need to align around a system that actually works. And so our contribution into that work is to try to make very simple, user-friendly career pathways that lead from the classroom to the career, make it repeatable so that it can work at scale.
The theme of this conference is Ignite, Innovate, and Impact. You've mentioned a little bit about innovation, but how are environments like this a catalyst for workforce boards, organizations like yourself to rally together and work together? What do those words mean to you, and how is this event a catalyst for that?
Well, with respect to Ignite, you can't, or I should say, it's hard to aspire to be something that you can't see. For example, if your parents were not exposed to uh, the advanced manufacturing workforce, they might be sharing with children that manufacturing is all about smokestacks and steel mills. And just nothing could be further from the truth today. Like you walk into these advanced manufacturing facilities and they're highly roboticized. They're very, very technical. And, it looks like you're living in the future. So I think what virtual reality does and what we do is we enable people to put on the headset and see what is actually going on in the labor market, at various companies and various industries so they can kind of make the decision for themselves. So we want to ignite that pathway, that energy to help them feel confident and positive that they can succeed. With respect to innovate, um, you know, process tweaks will get you 10% improvement. Like the step function change comes from putting a learner in a work environment before they take the job. One of the things that um, employers talk about is just churn, right? So if they spend a lot of time and money recruiting someone and that, some of those people leave before the end of the first year, that's really expensive to them. So, being able to have people simulate on the job experience and kind of basically do a trial before they fully commit can create a system where people opt into a career pathway and commit to companies and that is a way to just get both sides of the market talking to each other, getting familiar with each other, socializing with each other, so that they can have a longer term relationship as opposed to a transactional kind of relationship.
Bharani, I want to thank you for joining us here in the Hub. How can our audience learn more about Transfr VR, your website? Where can they follow you?
Our website recently got a makeover, so I would definitely check out www.transferinc.com. That's transfer without the E. Lots of case studies on there, lots of videos explaining various use cases. And yeah, we're just super excited to work with all of our partners in achieving this mission and driving this mission forward. I think it's been kind of highlighted and underscored just with the rapidly advancing AI technology, something that I don't think anybody predicted. So yeah, reach out to us. We'd love to work with you to create more user-friendly career pathways to help everyone get on a pathway to upward mobility.
That's great. Well, thank you for joining us here. Enjoy the rest of the conference and look forward to seeing you next time. Well, welcome back to KRA's The Hub podcast. This is Jonathan Overall, the host of The Hub. We are live here in Las Vegas at the 2026 NAWB Forum. And today is actually day number 1 here at the forum. And there have been a lot of great sessions, a lot of great conversations. I'm joined right now. I'm here with Maria Posey. She is the CEO of Viking Impact Advisors. Maria, welcome to The Hub. Tell us about who you are and your career journey to the point of becoming the CEO of Viking Advisors.
Yeah, thanks. That's quite the journey I've been on. Really, the field of workforce development and social impact consulting is my second chapter, but it all connects. My first chapter was spent internationally on social impact and economic development projects in Africa, Asia, Eastern Europe, and I leveraged the experience working on large, complex, multifaceted initiatives to pivot to domestically focused work around 2019. So I've been at this for about 7 years now. And really, that journey was in the spirit of wanting to make the world a better place for the families and communities furthest from opportunity, and really seeing workforce development and economic empowerment as the avenues for helping everybody lead the fullest life possible. So when I pivoted to domestic work, I did so with an organization focused on consulting and advising state and local government agencies to do more and do better with publicly funded programs. And I then leveraged that experience in 2024 to start my own consulting practice with the similar goal of helping government, but also nonprofit organizations, and especially workforce boards who sit kind of in the nexus between the two, to achieve greater impact, reach more people while still adhering to the compliance requirements of the programs that they administer.
That's great. So what are you seeing in this current climate? Obviously, there's a lot of uncertainty in workforce development around funding, the future. There's disruption that's happening with technology and automation. I know some of those themes are coming up in this conference. What are you seeing in the field and the work that you're doing?
Well, 3 things really. The first time, not surprising, is around technology and technological innovation, both as an opportunity for people and jobs and business to expand the horizons of innovation, to do more, to test new horizons, and increase efficiency when done responsibly. But like any new technology, it's really important that we take a broad view, not just a expedited narrow view on its potential, and that we really look at, well, who's being included and who's excluded in these environments. We really have to look at those entry-level jobs that are most at risk of being displaced, and how do we support new graduates and new entrants into the job market, well, whether they be college grads or people coming home after a period of incarceration, supporting the requisite skill building so that everyone has an opportunity at a good job and a viable career, despite and together with these technological advancements. So AI and technology is certainly one very, very hot topic that's being discussed. The other one is the real marriage of education and labor through programs like short-term Pell. More so than ever before, there's an acknowledgement that whatever education you get, whether that's a credential, a license, or a post-secondary degree or diploma, that ultimately needs to lead to employment. Most people who graduate college are then looking for a job and a career, and it's absolutely critical that we enable those pathways, and that exploration of career pathways and nurtures of career pathways starts already in K-12 and then continues throughout a post-secondary journey, whether that's through a license, credential, or a degree diploma. So that's, I think, a really critical development and a topic that's being explored by many different actors at the federal, state, and local level. The third development is similarly around partnership and alignment. As a systems thinker and someone who leads a systems consulting practice, I'm always looking for the connection points between actors and agencies and programs. And so vertical from younger years up to post-secondary. Similarly, we see a horizontal alignment between workforce development, economic development, and then the human service support systems, the wraparound supports that are necessary. Because as whole people, we have different needs at different times in our lives. Sometimes we are in a state of crisis and we just need to stabilize in order to even begin the pathway to work and workforce. And then once we achieve that, we are looking at continuously building wealth in order to achieve economic prosperity. I think a previous blind spot in the workforce system has been the single focus on work and getting jobs, not fully appreciating that a job is just a one type of an asset. Your bank account that you hold as a result of being employed is only one asset, when most of us, in order to continue living an increasingly prosperous life, need multiple assets. We need retirement accounts. We may need investment portfolios. We may need some other form of tangible asset like a property in order to fully set ourselves up for economic success later in life. And so it's the intersection of workforce development supported by a human service system, but also connected to an economic prosperity universe that I think is a really critical juncture that's going to come to its head as more and more baby boomers retire and are going to be needing that support for prosperity later in life.
That's a really important role because you have to have a pulse on all of those areas to be able to provide clear guidance, clear strategies, probably measurable outcomes to determine success. How is an environment like NAWB influential in the work that you do in staying up to date with what's happening in the industry?
So NAWB, National Association of Workforce Boards, is an absolutely essential organization for advocating with and on behalf of the local workforce board infrastructure. A critical component of the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, WIOA, is the devolution of power and control to the local level. It has been well known for decades that local actors are best positioned to understand their own labor markets, to understand the potential of their own talent, and to connect the two in effective ways. So that local control is written into the fabric of WIOA, and yet it has never been questioned or faced with the same barriers as it is now. We have insufficiently told our stories and shown our impact as the local workforce board system. We have not fully justified to our local elected officials, to our state officials, and certainly not to the federal officials, that this local workforce board works, that it is effective, that it is, despite year-over-year cuts, doing some amazing things for job seekers, for local businesses, for communities. Not everywhere. There are 500 plus workforce boards, so obviously there are going to be varying degrees of effectiveness, of impact. But by and large, this hypothesis of local control is working. I have looked at the data, I can say so unequivocally. But that's the issue. Most people haven't looked at the data, or if they've looked at the data, they haven't used that data to fully convey the stories of impact and taken charge of the narrative. That's what I specialize in part of my consulting practice, is to capture that data and help tell those stories. And that is also what NAWB is focused on doing, to really connect that local impact to the voices that need to hear it, to the decision makers who need to hear it, so that those stories of impact can really shift the narrative of what's currently being believed at the federal level.
I've been hearing a lot about apprenticeships. Trades staying, ahead of really what's coming with the digital transformation. But talk to us a little bit about apprenticeships. Are you doing any work in that area? Have you seen or heard of anything relevant at this conference about apprenticeships?
Apprenticeship is absolutely essential. And that's actually, I would argue, a fourth topic of interest in the world of workforce now. So I got a chance to address this. At the conference, there were 5 learning tracks, and 2 of them were on apprentice. So there were dozens of sessions about apprenticeship, everything from sector-based approaches to apprenticeship, to strategies for greater employer engagement, to innovative ways to blend and braid funding to support apprenticeship. So I think this conference in particular did a fantastic job of really bringing all the various different facets of apprenticeship to bear, knowing that it's such a critical priority from the federal, but also from many, many states who are investing their own funding into innovative apprenticeship models, such as pay-for-performance-based models, or targeting specific sectors of importance, or leveraging them for particular population groups, such as reentry or veterans. And so all around, I think we're building and testing as a field the full potential of what apprenticeship can be and what it can do. as an alternate way of skill building and career building.
Now, the theme here this year is ignite, innovate, and impact. What do those words mean to you and the work that you do?
Well, I won't break them apart, but as a group, they just represent, I think, the energy that our field is embracing right now. The drive to change, the need to change, being confronted with shifting priorities from the executive level, a reauthorization of WIOA into USWA in some way, shape, or form. Change is coming from the federal level, but also many states are rethinking how to organize their workforce agencies, which of course has trickled down to the local level. So the message in these words really is about embracing the positive aspects of change, to ignite and innovate and shape it together. A lot of times as humans, we tend to be reticent of change, hesitant, and maybe even a little fearful of change. But these words really inspire and invite a sense of opportunity and potential for what's to come.
That's great. I love it. I think that arc is perfect for a consultant, advisor, a conference, because each one of those elements are an important part of an organization's transformation. Well, Maria, I want to thank you for joining us here in the hub here at NAWB. How can people find out more about what you do, your website?
Piggybacking on that message of change, right? Change is inevitable, but change can also be hard. And as a consultant, we are here to guide and support and walk alongside anybody that is looking to do more or do better with their workforce programs. If you're looking to seek funding for new grants, even if you're a nonprofit and maybe looking at some corporate or foundation sponsorships, you want to leverage the data you have to improve on performance or achieve greater impact, or you want to establish a new strategic plan and a new direction or new set of priorities. Whatever the change is that you're looking to do, we are here to support. Viking Impact Advisors, you can find us at www.vikingimpact.com.
Thank you, and we'll see you next time, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you for listening to KRA's The Hub. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. To learn more about KRA Corporation, visit www.kra.com. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll be back soon with a new episode.